Hello everyone, and welcome to our live Hangout on Air about applying to the Google Teacher Academy. The next Google Teacher Academy will be taking place on October 3rd and 4th in New York City. And so we've gathered tonight many of the members of the faculty, and some of whom are past participants, in order to answer your questions and provide you a bit more information. We're going to get started here with some introductions. So can I ask you first to introduce yourself, Becky? And you're just on mute there, Becky, so.
Sorry about that. My name is Becky Evans, and I am a program manager on the Google Apps for Education team, focusing on our K-12 programs.
Great. Danny?
I'm Danny Silva, and I work for Q, and I'm the Professional Development Coordinator and the Director of the Google Teacher Academy.
Great. Jim?
Well, hello. My name is Jim Sill, and I am a high school teacher out of Central Valley, California. I'm also a professional developer, and I went to the Google Teacher Academy in 2008.
Great. And Mark?
Hi, my name is Mark Hammonds. I work out of Fresno at the County Office of Education. I'm an ed tech consultant there and go around and do a lot of professional development and training. It's a tricky word. And I also work at a local high school teaching some music. Been doing that for about 15 years. I went through the Google Teacher Academy in Boulder in 2008.
Excellent. And my name is Tia Lendo. I work in the education team at Google, and I'll be moderating for the next probably about a half hour as we take your questions and make sure that we hit a lot of the frequently asked questions that we tend to get about the Google Teacher Academy. Now, before Becky gives us a short overview, I just wanted to let you all know that you can pose your questions to us by typing into the comments area, which is directly beneath the live broadcast of this Hangout on Air. What you can do is open a second tab with the Google and Education page. That way you can have in one tab the video running, and in the other tab you can refresh the comments and questions as they come in. So we'll be looking there to find out what's on your mind. So Becky, if you wouldn't mind getting started, just telling us a little bit about what the Google Teacher Academy is.
Definitely. So the Google Teacher Academy, or better known as the GTA for short, was founded in 2006 in Mountain View, California at the Googleplex. Since then, we've had 13 Google Academies, so this is going to be the 14th one in New York. We're really excited because we haven't had a GTA in New York since 2008, so it'll be nice to bring it back to the East Coast. But it was founded because we found that so many educators were using Google products in the classroom, but there really was no global forum for you guys to interact and share best practices, and so we founded the GTA in order to provide that space for you to do that. So we're really excited to schedule this 2-day intensive workshop where you can come and hear from Google product managers, hear from our lead learners, which are currently GCTs, and just learn everything there is to know about Google and our education products. Or it would seem that you learn everything there is to know, but there's always room for growth. So we're really excited to have you join us and hope that you can get your applications in by July 29th. And I might be frozen, so.
Thank you, Becky. So I want just to start off, and obviously we can tell more about the program itself, but I would love to just hear maybe everybody say, what is one word that described their Google Teacher Academy experience? So what would be one word? I'll give you two if you want to as well. Let's start with you, Jim.
Oh, great. I'm glad you picked me first. I guess if I was going to pick one word, it'd have to be intense. There you go.
Mark?
Well, I was going to do a hyphenated word, but for me, it was definitely life-changing.
Okay. Danny?
And I'm going to go with fire hose.
Okay. So let's talk about this a little bit more. Mark, you said life-changing. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for me, it was kind of my first foray, kind of going out there, and you know, I came from the private sector, so I didn't start as a educator per se. So getting into the Teacher Academy was kind of my first foray into really. That's the first time I actually learned something on this job. So it really kind of paved the way that I've done things since 2009. You know, the way that I interact with other individuals, being able to learn from the lead learners there, and then be able to take that experience of that learning and then just kind of sharing it with everybody else.
And what about intense? In what ways is it intense, Jim?
You know, my year in Mountain View 2008 was the first year they opened it up to internationally. And it was, what was intense about it is I sat next to Frank Gutler from AFI. You know, I'm a film teacher. That was unbelievable. And then I'm sitting next to Dorothy from New Zealand. You know, it's just, my mind just, everything just became global for me. You know, and it was just, and then of course, Jerome Berg was talking to us about Google Earth, and it was just the speakers there were all the speakers I had heard about. And so just one huge day, you know, and I have to agree. Mark, it was life-changing. My entire life changed from there. And it was a fire hose of information that you just literally put in a bag and then take home and learn. You learn so much over the weeks afterwards.
And Danny, obviously fire hose is similarly about intensity. Tell us more.
Correct. So I think Jim kind of told us what he thought of fire hose, but definitely take a 3-day conference, and what you casually learn at a 3-day conference, just put that into 1 day at the GTA. It's just fast and furious. A great term is you don't know what you don't know, and so there's a lot of great things that you think, oh, I know Google Docs, oh, I know Google Search, and by the end of the day, you're like, wow, I did not know that. So it's just one of those things. It's really fun.
And you already all mentioned about learning from the other participants. The Google Teacher Academy certainly has lead learners who are delivering a lot of the content, but it tends to be very interactive with learners really sharing with each other. Part of the reason that they're called lead learners, in fact, is faculty. Could you talk a little bit more, maybe Mark, about how people kind of were sharing during those 2 days?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I want to say it was kind of formal yet informal at the same time, because they were so approachable. It's not like going to a big conference where, you know, kind of as Jim was saying, where these are all the people you're hearing about. Well, yeah, these are all the people you're hearing about, but it's the small, the semi-small, I guess 50 people is kind of small, that small cohort type of feel where you can actually, when we have breaks, you can sit down and you can talk and you can learn from some of those people and just have that kind of informal conversation where it's not kind of that direct instruction model. And then also the experience of hanging out with some of the Googlers on campus as well.
Great, thank you. And now, because we have Google Plus as well, the groups which people are a part of there at Google Teacher Academy actually start to get together virtually a little bit before and after the 2 days of the actual academy itself. And multiple of you mentioned kind of sharing even beyond the 2 days together live. Becky, could you talk maybe a little bit more about the various ways that people stay connected?
Definitely. So I think the primary way that people stay connected is through our Google Certified Teacher group. So we have an online Google group that the 700 plus Google certified teachers are a part of, and every day there are tons of messages and emails back and forth sharing resources, sharing best practices, talking about any and everything related to Google or technology or, you know, classroom best practices. So definitely being a part of that online community is a great way to stay in touch with fellow GCTs. We also have a very active community on Twitter and on Google Plus and other social learning platforms, and so I would recommend just not only staying in touch with those people that are part of your core, your group that you attend with, but also the wider community of GCTs past and present.
Great. Now, we had a question come in here, and one of the questions is, how do you apply what you learn in the Google Teacher Academy after you leave? So do you want to, Jim, maybe talk about some of the ways it changed your teaching?
Well, I think the number one thing is it opened up doors for me to get rid of the walls in my room. You know, the connections that I've been able to make afterwards, not only with the cohort that I was in, but with all the others that have been on, that were before me and came after me. My students were able to were able to be part of that. We can connect with other people virtually through email, posting questions, using social networks. You know, just, hey, Mr. So, I can't figure this out. Hold on, let me ask. And it's usually a GCT that replies to that. So that in itself has been pretty amazing. But at the same time, I've also been able to go around, and I think it just motivated me to teach other teachers. And so it really, I have done a lot of other things after that Google Teacher Academy, and I think that was the catalyst.
We have a question from Lawrence, actually 2 parts, and both really good questions. The first question is it all instruction, or is there anything that's created and developed there? And he says, like the ADE program. Danny, do you want to talk maybe a little bit about that, about what it's like there? Certainly not, sort of stage on the stage in the front, but could you talk a little bit more about what that experience is like instructionally?
Sure. It's truly interactive. There are moments of us presenting information, but there's a lot of interaction between the lead learners and the participants, and that's, again, why we call the presenters lead learners, because we're there to learn with you. We're there to listen to your feedback, listen to your comments, listen to how things are being done in your classrooms. And it's incredible the amount of sharing that takes place at the Google Teacher Academy. I would say by far, I hear that the most from participants is the networking is probably just as important as the information they were provided. And so there's great things going on. And then Jim is going to talk about this more later, but our action plan that we have the Google Teacher Academy participants or the new GCTs take part in are the ways we take that back and develop something that they can use either in their classroom or their community or for the bigger audience.
Yeah, why don't you talk more about that now, Jim? That would be great.
Well, the action plan has been something that's been part of every Google Teacher Academy since the beginning. And in the beginning, I guess the most famous one, not to demean anybody else's, but it has to be Jerome Berg's Google Lit Trips. It was an action plan that he worked with, I know, with Diane Main and several others. And from that Google Teacher Academy came probably one of the greatest resources for Google Earth and using that in the classroom. We have really seen a number of action plans go through. I've even put together a list that I might even be able to post into the chat here in a bit of action plans that cover everything. Mostly it's global interaction. It's mostly taking your classroom and connecting it with the world, because that's what this is. The whole Google Teacher Academy is connecting you with people from all around the world right there in that same room. And I imagine with New York, we're going to get several people from Europe applying and all points beyond. So, but I think the action plan is really where you apply everything. And it's about being creative. It's about taking the time to work with partners to develop something really great. The question, I think, asked about is it like ADE camp? Now, as an Apple Distinguished Educator, and Mark, you are as well, that all happens at the camp. This happens afterwards. And so it's really about being self-motivated to follow through with it.
Great. And Mark, what were some of the things in follow-up, that you did, whether it was maybe part of your plan or actually just kind of something that you learned there or through connecting afterward?
Well, I don't remember all the details of my plan because it's been a couple of years, but I know one thing that really took everything that I did really beyond was, I'm a self-proclaimed geek or nerd, whatever you want to do it. So, when I start learning stuff, I really kind of get geeky with it. I get my geek on. And one thing that I really took out of it was all the search. You kind of take for granted that, oh yeah, Google search, you just go there and you do that, but all the curriculum components behind that and being able to share all those details. I mean, I think, we started at 7:30 in the morning, or at least that's when I got there. And then I think I was blown away by like 8:45, and I was like, okay, if that's all I get, I'm done for the day. So really all those different search components, and then kind of like Jim, where being able to share those entities and those items with other teachers, because that's primarily what I do in this job, is help train other teachers. So really the search components, and just kind of going in with an open mindset of there's if you think you know a lot of stuff, well, you're always going to be learning something new when you go through the Google Teacher Academy.
Now, somebody asked about the locations for the Google Teacher Academy. These rotate. They tend to be twice a year, and we had one this year in London already in April, and the next one on October 3rd and 4th is in New York. We don't have any announcements of further dates and locations yet, but we do try to make sure we rotate them around different geographies, both in the U.S. and abroad as well. Last year we had one in Sydney and one in Seattle. Now, there's a few questions on here about applications. Thank you, Tolu and others, for submitting those. So the first question is, what are we looking for in applicants to the Google Teacher Academy? Do you want to maybe start off, Danny, and then obviously others, please do jump in.
Sure. Basically, we're looking for somebody that's going to motivate students, somebody that's innovative in the classroom, somebody that's making changes in their community by providing that best education possible for their students. And also we're looking for people that help others become that as well. Somebody that's going to be a professional development person, somebody that helps inspire other teachers to take that to the next level and to inspire their students. And hopefully we build this this waterfall that just keeps growing and growing and growing. That's pretty much what we're looking for, is a motivated person, somebody that motivates others, somebody that inspires others. Jim and Mark have judged quite a few applications, or have scored quite a few applications, so I'm going to hand it over to those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we're just really trying to find out what we look for in an applicant. Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What are those things? And actually, is it all different types of folks, just teachers?
I try to be, when I read applications, and I've been reading them for quite some time, I really, the number one thing I'm looking for is passion. Passion for your craft, and how much can you, and how can you relay that through the written and the video part. I was just telling this to somebody today. A lot of us do a lot of professional development, and we're always giving, and sometimes we need to go fill the cup. And that Google group that Becky was talking about before is really where you get your resources and your inspiration for doing things. And so when I'm looking at these, I look for partners. I look for people who are going to be partners in my future, and because the Google teachers out there are some of my greatest friends, and every time we meet up anywhere around the world, it's like old friends. We've seen, we haven't seen each other from high school or something, So these are the partners I'm looking for. These partners in creating and to help us inspire each other.
And Becky, would you mind saying anything about kind of the roles that people tend to have who end up attending, and also anything about kind of prior experience with technology and Google?
Yeah, so typically, since it is a Google Certified Teacher program, the participants are classroom teachers, but if you have demonstrated experience in K-12 or primary and secondary education, please apply. A lot of our Google Certified teachers are not in the classroom anymore and are out doing other things. So we definitely recognize that you can be doing amazing things and innovative things with other teachers and in the classroom, but not necessarily be a classroom teacher at a school or a school district. So apply anyways.
Mm-hmm. Great. And as far as technology, obviously, this is a lot about technology and innovation. You should certainly have some familiarity with Google tools, but I think, as everyone said, all participants really are learning from each other there. And so certainly don't need to feel like you're up to speed on absolutely everything, but certainly good to have kind of a basic understanding and some usage of tools like Google Apps and YouTube, just to be able to make the most out of the experience there. We have a lot of questions coming in about the application itself, and particularly about the video, as always. So in a moment, I'd like to ask you all if you have any tips for folks in making the video, and particularly those of you who made one yourself. if there was anything that you wish someone had told you or something you would do differently. But I do want to just start by saying to folks, do make sure you read the website and the application. And I did just put a link to this in the comments area in the Google Plus page underneath this video. It's very important to follow all those instructions, particularly what we're looking for in terms of the themes, and also very important to make sure that there isn't any copyrighted material in your video. If it does have copyrighted music or anything like that, we are not able to consider it. So please do make sure you read through those guidelines. So beyond the technical side of things, what would be your advice to those when they're those folks who are out there making their video? Mark, what would you suggest?
Two things really. One, to kind of piggyback off of what Jim was saying, you got to be a person that somebody wants to connect with, and trying to do that through a computer, vehicle can sometimes be intimidating. So I totally recommend having as many people as possible take a look at it and get their input. Don't be bashful, because when you get to the Google Teacher Academy, you're going to see everybody else's, so you might as well get it out of the way now. And then the only other thing would be to make sure that just make sure you're answering the questions as to what type of video you're trying to do, whether that's the motivational teacher or the classroom innovator. A lot of people try to go in and, hey, I'm wearing my Google shirt today, so I know everything about Google. Pick me. When we're trying to find good people, not necessarily Google experts on everything.
What advice do you have, Jim?
Well, this is my favorite topic, but it's as a video instructor, I try to be very, very nice when looking at these, but it's not always as easy as I want it to be. The thing is that I'm very aware that not everybody is a filmmaker, and I think that's number one, right? So I always kind of have to look at what tools are being used and how is their message being presented. I think the number one, and Mark said this, you have to answer the question. If you don't answer the question, throw it away. You can't repurpose a video. I've seen this so many times when somebody takes a video that they had in the can from somewhere else and they repurpose it. I can tell, pretty quick, and so I dump that, and so it's I wouldn't say it's the make or breaker, but it's a very important part of the process, and don't do it the night before. That's the number one thing. You have to think about this. Get your students involved. I mean, obviously it's the summer, so that's a little bit difficult, but get your friends, your colleagues involved. Again, I want to see that passion, and I kind of want to see you. I kind of want to see how much fun you're having. I want to see that this is really great. Animating still pics and dumping a voiceover, it's doable. The message should be very, very clear, but I really want to see your personality. I want to see that this is fun for you.
Mm-hmm. Danny, what else would you add?
I would agree with both those statements. I would make sure that I'm genuine. Just make sure you come across in the video and that you're showing how you are answering those questions, and be yourself. Be a genuine person, and that passion is going to come through in your video. You answer one of those three questions: how am I innovative in the classroom? How do I motivate students? How do I make change in my community? And if you show yourself on the video, if you're talking on the video, you're going to come across and you're going to show it to us. So that would be my thing, is be a genuine person when you're on that video.
Michelle had a question about, should there be captured video, animation, presentation style videos? And I think what everybody is saying is, you need to make your points and be yourself and show who you are, but it's not prescriptive in terms of the actual kind of techniques and the editing you do for that. You can look on YouTube and search for old Google Teacher Academy videos. In fact, we could probably search for Jim's and Mark's and everybody's, couldn't we? So you can look on there. You can look on there and see them, and you'll see that people took a range of different approaches to how they shot them and the way they did them. And you'll also see that some people are extremely good editors, and some had to teach themselves how to edit the videos. So please make sure not to let the technical aspects get you hung up.
I would have to add in on that. Mark and Jim shoot a lot of video, and they're not going to kill you because you didn't do a great jump cut or a nice smooth transition. They want to see who you are and what you're doing, right? Would you agree with that, guys? It's about that kind. It's not about the technical video you made. It's about who you are on that video. That's the best part. And then there are so many different kinds of videos that come across. It's great to watch them all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. What other general advice do you have for people who are right now preparing their application? We talked a lot about the video, but what other words of advice would you have, maybe that you wish somebody had told you before you were applying?
That's a really tough question. I applied twice before I got in. I applied. It was really a geographical thing. At least I like to tell myself that before they opened it up to the world. But I don't think that when I first applied that I really put that much into it. I don't think that I really took it seriously. This is something that you should be planning on. If you're just hearing about it now, you should start now. And don't wait till the last minute, because there are so many people who are so amazing. And you are too, so you want to be able to take that time to really showcase that. Don't just rush it, because if you're rushing it, wait till the next one. It's not a problem. That's what I would say.
Mark, what would you tell people?
Kind of similar to that, but make sure you get input from all these other sources. Your vision, your idea. I steal this line from Jim all the time. Your idea is great until you open it up to other people and have them give you your input. So you might have a great idea, but get input from other people, and they might tell you whether or not that your idea is coming across the way that you're envisioning it. So whether that's in written form or in the video form, I am probably not the best writer out there. So anytime I write something, I usually have my wife or somebody read over it, make sure it's kind of a thorough thought process. But that would be my biggest thing, is just make sure you just get other inputs, because you're going to have anywhere between, I think, 10 to 15 different people probably looking at it before the decision is made.
Becky, any other thoughts in terms of advice to folks who are applying?
Yeah, I think that sometimes we get caught up in the laundry list of our accomplishments, and we want to list every single thing that we've ever done in education and in technology. But I think it's way more important to focus on your passions, number one, and your strengths, and really, throughout your whole application, keep those consistent so that we can get a better feeling of who you are as an educator.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Now, as we already mentioned, it is a very small program, only around 50 people who come each time. And so